How's it going out there? Rooster here in Tennessee. Got one of these customer satisfaction, customer send back videos here. I'm going to go ahead and knock it out. I do have a lot of pressing stuff to get out of here, a lot of customer test videos, but this one came in just before the weekend, and I wanted to get to it for the customer so we can get this resolved one way or another. I don't want to keep him tied up. I like to get these deals done. So, Cobra 29 Chrome, this is one of the custom ones that RC does. It is the FM model. As you can see down here in the bottom corner, it does have AM and FM. It does have variable power on the RF gain, transmit tone, the audio mods, widened out receive, power tone, all the good stuff has been done to it. Generally, on the Bird 43P, these things show anywhere from 35 to 45 watts PEP. Again, I try to mention it in the videos. They might show more or less on a Dosia or MFJ. Generally, they show a little bit less. I've seen them show as low as 25, and I've seen them show, actually 35 or 40. So that is what the send back is over. The customer got it. There's a power discrepancy, and he says the receive is not working properly. Now, I will say on the widened out receive, they are very quiet. Okay. When you get the receive widened out on these, one thing it does is take the static away. And you won't really have much static unless you go turn the A&L, the NB A&L off. You do sometimes sacrifice a little bit of sensitivity when you do that. More narrow receive will get a slightly larger signal generally. And a widened out receive will have a little bit less. But it shouldn't be like people are barely, you shouldn't be like where you can barely hear people or where they're putting like half, you can't hear people that you can usually hear. If someone is generally putting you, 5, 6 pounds, 5, 6 S units, they might be a little weaker with the widened out receive, but you should still be able to hear them. So I'll read the note from the customer. I won't say the customer's name. It's not about who it is. It's just, like I said, do these videos for kind of a learning experience and informational and kind of discussion points, I guess I'd say. He gives me the order number. This is the radio we texted about. He did text me. With low power, no 35 to 45 PEP, and bad receive. Not going to be happy with this radio. Was going to go with the Striker 447 HPC2, but went with this instead. Would really like to upgrade to the 447 Striker and pay the difference. If that's not looks like it starts with a P, problem or process, thanks. Give me a call. I can pay the difference with my card. So that is the rundown on this radio. I just read it to you guys. We're going to check all that stuff out. So my plan, I want to check it on the MFJ, get a reference point on it, because he is not running a Bird 43P. He's running some other sort of watt meter. I don't remember what it is. I'm going to check the receive, dummy low to dummy low, just keying the Cobra 90 up in the background. And then after it's all said and done, we'll hook it up to the Bird. And I will also probably take it in there and hook it up on the base and do some listening on it. Maybe see if I can talk to somebody on it to get a signal test to what they generally put on me, or maybe even go in there and talk some skip on it. I don't know. We'll do something, but I'll have to pause the video several times. So bear with me. It could turn into a long video, which I want to get it resolved for the customer. I don't care if a video takes 20 minutes long. We want to see what's going on here and either show the customer that it is working or, do what we have to do to make it right. So, Cobra 29 LTD Chrome. I will say RC double checks all these before they go, because the last thing he wants to do is hear from me about one of these radios not being right. So, I'm not saying that this radio is necessarily perfect or that they won't leave here. Sometimes things happen. But I will say he tries not to overlook anything, because I assure you, and he will get on here and tell you guys, the last thing he wants is for me to ring him up and be like, hey, man, customer sent this radio back and it's not doing right, So he doesn't want to hear from me in that way, and he tries his best to double check all these. So just putting that out there. All right. That's enough of the intro, the pre-information to the video. Let's get on with the show here and see what this thing is doing. So first off, we got a 20-watt slug, or 20-watt slug. I'm so caught up in saying that. 20-watt scale, bottom scale there. The button's out, so we're on average power, okay? keep these numbers in mind for when we go to the bird to see how it compares. Bottom scale. Okay, that's the RF power wide open. And that's the RF power all the way down. So it's showing about 3 3/4 there on the dead key with it wide open. $13.5 average. Audio. Really tone sensitive there. Hello, audio. You guys can see, depending on the tone of my voice, it bounces around, 12 watts average with a low tone, 8, 9 with a higher pitch. Just depends. And whistling, 14 if you whistle into it. So that's what you get with MFJ, the way it reads average power. Similar to the bird, the way the tone of your voice, differs in it, can make it respond more or less. But yeah, so now we're on peak. I just pushed the button in. Oh, aim the camera here. On peak. Check. Okay, so you guys see it's doing well over 20 watts peak. Now, if I recall, I don't want to quote the customer because I might be getting this wrong. If I recall, he said in the text that it was only doing 8 to 10 watts PEP. I have a theory as to why it was showing that kind of power. I'll get to it here in a bit. But he said I think that's what he says, only showing 8 or 10 watts, something like that. Now I'm on the 200 watt scale. So now we're looking at the second from the top. And this is still going to be PEP. Whistling just over 20. Audio. Audio. That's showing about 30. Audio. It might go a little bit up over 30 with a different tone. Again, different tones make the meter read a little different, but showing about 30 watts PEP. So no, that is not 35 to 45. Again, but I don't hide that in any videos or anything. I always try to bring it up that it may show more or less. Dosey, bird, MFJ. You're going to have a little bit of variation. I don't think anyone has ever claimed that a bird 43P is the stingiest meter, but it is the meter that people use for the industry standard. So does the MFJ being more stingy mean it's more accurate? Well, it's more stingy on PEP, but it's not more stingy on average, as we'll show here in a second. I could just about guarantee the bird is going to show less on average and show more on PEP. So does the MFJ reading less or tighter on PEP make it a more accurate meter? No, not necessarily. It just means it's a stingier meter. Bird is still the industry standard. I mean, one slug that goes in that bird meter costs as much as what this guy cost. Okay, it's a whole different tool. But anyway, that's a whole different subject. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's move on. Check the receive. See how it does. We're just going to key up the Cobra 90 here. Got the mic in my hand. See what we're doing, dummy load to dummy load. I don't expect a giant signal, but if it's down there at 1 or 2 pounds, probably not a good sign. Okay, so that's pretty good. 7 S units. Turn the noise blanker off, shouldn't make a difference. It doesn't, just makes it louder. But 7.5 S units, that's pretty good. Dummy load to dummy load, pretty satisfied with that. That's right in line kind of with what I'd expect. Sometimes they only show 4 or 5 pounds. But again, we're not going to stop there. I'm actually going to hook this radio up to the antenna and do a little bit of listening on it there at the end of the video. But for right now, I'm going to pause the video, hook up to the bird 43P, and we'll get some test measurements there. Also, by the way, our test voltage is 14, I'm looking at it over here, 14.8 is what we're at. Usually I test around 14.6, so that's not like outrageous or anything, but it just happened to be at 14.8. So 14.8 is what we're at. I usually test at 14.6. Probably doesn't make much of a difference, if any at all. Let's pause the video and hook the bird up. Okay, we are back, and I have got the bird in line. Still run the same voltage here. Go ahead and turn the Cobra 90 off, but we're going to test it and see what it does on the bird. So I've got the RF power wide open, and it's showing about a 6-watt dead key on the bird. And then goes down to nothing. So the first difference we have is that the MFJ showed about 3 3/4 of a watt dead key, and the bird actually shows 6. So I want you guys to think about something, a little side note about this. If you have an amplifier, let's say you have a high drive or relatively high drive amp, and your technician or your amp builder tells you, all right, man, I don't want you to put more than 3.5 watts into this amp. And you're going by this MFJ meter. And you say, okay, well, I can turn my RF power wide open because it only keys, 3 3/4 on the MFJ. Meanwhile, your amp builder was using a bird meter for a reference, and you're actually dead keying 6 watts on the bird meter. Just food for thought, not to get too sidetracked from what we're doing here, but that's just something I want people to think about when you're using these different meters. I would own one of these to use myself. I wouldn't own this, and I wouldn't own a Dosi. There's a few other meters I would own out there, but for my own personal use, I wouldn't have one. Just putting it out there. And I don't know that that's the meter that this customer has. I think he's got something else, but for my own personal use, I wouldn't have one of them. For that very reason, you can end up overdriving something, and the whole time you think you're not overdriving it, and you're putting double into it what you should be. So that's my spiel on that. Let's see how much average power this guy does. Audio 9 bird. Again, there's a discrepancy there. The MFJ was showing 12 and a half. The bird is showing 9. PEP. All right, we got our P kit turned on. It is a bird 43P. Audio. Check. Audio. That low tone is getting us to almost 40. Hello, check. Audio 1 2 3. Audio 1 2 3. Audio 1 2 3. Audio 1 2 and a 3. Audio check. Audio 35 just talking into it, but 40 on an audio. So the difference there, the MFJ would show 30 give or take on an audio, and talking, I think it was showing about the same. It actually whistled less. It wouldn't go up far if you whistled into it. Strangely enough, it did more average if you whistled, but if you whistled on peak, it wouldn't do 25 watts or something. But around 30 watts is what the radio was showing on the MFJ. Around 35 to 40 is what it is showing on the bird. So that's not a huge deal, the 10 watts PEP. I'm not as concerned with that as I am the dead key difference between the 2 watt meters. That's more, deadly to me than 10 watts PEP is. I can live with the 10 watts PEP. Back to the customer's initial complaint that the radio, the dead key wouldn't go up high enough, and the PEP wasn't 35 to 45 watts. Well, according to the bird meter, it's doing just about what all these do when they're sent out of here. And, I've sold probably, I don't even know, dozens. I've sold dozens of them. And generally the people with bird meters never complain. They're completely happy with them. They do what they expect. Generally people that have complaints aren't running bird meters. That's just generally how it goes. So in the regards to the output power, what I want to do now is, it's actually going to take me a few minutes. I'm going to take this radio in there. I'm going to leave this mic on it, and I'm going to hook it up on my bass and unhook my Cobra 87. And hopefully we've got some skip in there, or maybe I can wrangle up a truck driver or somebody local to get a radio check on there. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that. And we will be back, guys. Appreciate you bearing with me so far. It's almost a 15-minute video. It will probably be almost a 20-minute video by the time we're done. But trying to get this information out there and maybe cut down on some of this stuff too. Help some people and help myself in the process. All right, guys. Rooster in Tennessee, roostercb.com. I will be back. No, I could hear you good. Do it again. And just for the sake of the video, how far apart do you think we are? You're off of exit what? What exit is that down there that you're off of?
Exit 11.
Okay, you're at the 11 and I'm at the 33. You're southwest of me. That's probably my worst area to talk. And you're barefooted right there?
Yes, sir. Barefooted. That's how I got about 35 routes. That's it.
Okay, now turn your box on if you would. I got the video rolling here. I've had it rolling the last couple key-ups. Okay, I got a signal on you. Now, all I'm going to do, six-pack, hang with me for just a second. I'm going to unhook the coax out of this radio, and I'm going to go back to my base, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, do that one more time, barefooted, if you would. I'm sorry, I didn't have the camera going. This is on my base. Okay, I got you on it there. Now turn your box on. Okay, there's just a little bit of a difference. I was just checking it there. There's about, I think you're putting about a 4.5 on me on the 29, and I've got you about a 5 on this radio. Both of them got pretty tight meters on, though. I mean, I was hearing you about the same either way. This radio's actually got an excellent receive, so that 29 stacked up to it better than I was expecting there. This radio's got receive out of this world, but I think you're putting about a 4.5 on the 29. I'd have to go back and watch, and I got about a 5 on you on this one, but it don't go past 9 S units. This radio don't. Yeah, I'm running that bad of the bone mic on it too. I just had a Superstar on that 29. I didn't have my desk mic hooked up to it. It's a custom desk mic this guy down in Florida makes, or he did make. I don't know if he hadn't made them in a while. I don't know if he's still making them or not, but he was making them for a while, and I bought a couple of them there. I'm actually sitting off to the side of it a little bit right now. Let me get back with you, six-pack. I've still got this video rolling. I need to get this wrapped up. I just wanted to get a check on that radio and make sure the receive was working okay on it. 410?
410. You carry on over, man. If you need me, text me or something, I'll come back down here.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you for your help. I'm glad I caught you on here. I'll talk to you in a bit. Okay, guys, so here we are finally at the end of the video, the conclusion, I guess you'd say. Lots of stuff to look at and consider. Output on the radio is good. As far as I'm concerned, it's doing what one of these should do. The receive, there is a small difference between it and my Cobra 87 GTL. My Cobra 87 has a better receive than my ICOM 7700. I can hear people on my Cobra 87 that I can't even hear on my ICOM. So it has a very, very sensitive receive, that radio does, for whatever reason. One of the best receiving radios I've ever had. The 29 did receive slightly less. I would probably say, without going back and watching the video, somewhere between 1 S unit and half a S unit less. Not too concerned about that because this one does have the widened out receive. The Cobra 87 doesn't. What I was really looking for is to see if it was like half. Or when six-pack went barefooted, I was thinking, well, if there's an issue with the receive, I'm not going to be able to hear him. He is probably through the air. Oh, gosh. I don't even remember what exit he said he's at, but he's in Ooltewah. He's about 20 to 25 miles, give or take, through the air. And that's actually a pretty poor direction for me to talk. I'm talking into a ridge line that way. So all things considered, I was actually surprised, pleasantly surprised, that I could hear him barefooted on this radio. Obviously, the radio's talking good. Before I even started the camera with him, I made contact on channel 19 to a truck driver. Got a good report on it. He wasn't far enough away for me to really record and get a measurement on the receive. Do I think the meter is tight? Yes, I do. The Cobra 87 in there has a tight meter as well. Six pack's only putting 5 pounds. If it was a more generous meter, he'd probably have me up in the edge of the red. He was only putting what, 4.5 on this radio, I believe. And I could be off on that. I'd have to go back and look. But my main objective was to hook this radio up and to make sure that the receive wasn't being cut in half, or, I go from being able to hear somebody like Six Pack, hearing him barefooted, to not being able to hear him at all on this one. I was able to hear him barefooted. There was a small difference between the two radios. Like I said, the 87 has a very good receive on it. Not surprised a bit. But overall, this radio gets a clean bill of health. I'm not sure what's going on at the customer's home 20. I have my theories about his output level showing so low. If you have the radio in line with a bunch of amplifiers and the bypass tune on the amps is no good, like let's say you go behind the amp and instead of having a 101 or a 111 SWR at 50 ohms, he could have, with the bypass tune on those amps, he could have a 1.5 at 35 ohms. That will significantly decrease the power output of a radio at the watt meter at the end of the circuit, I guess you'd say. The receive, I really don't know what to say unless he's getting hung up on the meter and not how well he can actually hear people, because the radio's receiving just fine. So it might be, okay, the meter's too tight. He's used to seeing people put 7 or 8 pounds and now they're putting 4, but he's still hearing them. That could be part of it. I really don't know. Very long video, guys. Sorry about that, but I wanted to do this, and hopefully I don't have to do this every single time. Just a kind of an educational video, a topic of discussion video, and to show the customer, that thankfully there is actually nothing wrong with the radio. Now, will he be satisfied with this? I have no idea. It seemed like from the note he had his mind pretty set that he did not want this radio. He was not satisfied with it, so he's got it in his head there's something wrong with it. Maybe I can change his mind after he watches this video, but maybe not, We will see. But that's it, guys. I hope everybody has a good day. Lots of equipment coming out, lots of videos. If you're waiting on a tracking number from me, look to get it today. Appreciate everybody's patience, and I appreciate everybody tuning in to the YouTube channel. Cobra 29 LTD Chrome by RC. This one gets a clean bill of health. You guys let me know what you think. Feel free to comment, discuss, message, whatever you'd like to do. Catch you guys out there. Rooster in Tennessee. See you. Bye.